All right, welcome back to the Veterans Club podcast. This is Jeffrey Rosales, your host, alongside my co-host here, Miss Amazing Kat Corchado, and the amazing Lakeisha Mosley here. Today, we are welcoming our second time being on the Veterans Club here, the Lieutenant Colonel Jose Montalvan. If you guys don't know, he is the president for the Association of Naval Service Officers, an inclusive leadership organization focused on empowerment and uplifting of the next generation of leaders in the service and outside the service. And they've been busy. They've had an amazing symposium that had some really high level guests. And I'm looking to dive into it and learn more about what's on their agenda for the rest of this year and next year and what his vision once he is done here. So, Lieutenant Colonel Jose Montalvan, welcome back to the Veterans Club.
Muchas gracias. Thank you for having me.
All right. So I know you've been busy. And first of all, I know you are multitasking. So, of course, you're a Marine. You're always going to be multitasking. You're a high achiever here. But I want to check in with you, man. How are things going on just on you on a personal level based on all the things you guys have been doing?
Um, Pretty busy, pretty busy. So we have had a busy 2 months, I would say, right? And great news. Just amazing, right? So last time I spoke to y'all, I was in Japan, in Yokota Air Base, right? Since then, I have PCS back to the United States. I'm currently the J4, the Director of Logistics for Special Operations North, right? So about a week and a half ago, I was informed that I was selected for Colonel. So it's going forward. We had a symposium. You talked about the personal side, right? And I'm just blessed, right? The family has been supportive. Apart from being the ENSO president, I'm the director of logistics, and I'm coaching soccer for my son. And my schedule is extremely busy. But life is good, and I cannot complain. I wouldn't have it any other way. And by setting the example and showing our youth and our service member that anything is possible in life, um, I just get rewarded by doing that. So I'm extremely happy, regardless of how busy I am.
Well, first of all, congratulations, high achiever. Of course, I mean, the fact that you got selected for colonel, that's a big deal. And I know it's very competitive at that level. Um, I think that's a great accomplishment and a testament. And finally, you PCS back. So you're finally back in America now. Is this
That
going to be your second to last assignment, or what's in store for you? Are you going to give it? Are you going to do a couple more years in uniform?
Vamos a ver, right? We got to see what the Marine Corps has to offer, how much they want me, how long they want me around. I'm almost 29 years, so technically my enlisted time and my officer time, I can carry me to 36 and a half. So if everything plays out, I'll give the United States Marine Corps and our nation for 36. You never know what the future holds, so we're trying to take it one duty station at a time, and one day at a time, and see how it plays out. But I'm excited just to have the opportunity to continue to serve and continue to serve the American people and our service members.
Well, thank you, and congratulations also on your new assignment there, being a director of logistics for Special Operations North. I think that's a huge important mission here, and I just want to thank you for continuing to serve here. But I want to kick it over to any of my co-hosts here, if they have any questions or comments for you.
Yes, we absolutely do. Colonel, I would like to know, your objectives and your purpose when it comes to the Smithsonian. Like, did you achieve your purpose and goals for it? And definitely for the leaders, like, what is your main goal for the leadership?
So you're referring to the symposium, right, that we just had?
Yes.
Oh yes, no doubt. Just look at the attention that we got, and the awareness that we got, which is most important. And at the end of the symposium, I would say that officers and enlisted who were considering getting out of the service decided that they wanted to continue serving. And honestly, like I told them, our future is with them. I'm almost at 30 years. I'm almost done. Regardless if we say 6 years, 7 years, right? I'm almost done. What we do with them and how they develop professionally and personally is what is going to carry the day. And most important is what is going to make our adversaries nervous about messing with the United States military, right? So when you look at the end of the day, come down Friday, the smiles, the energy, the motivation that was in that room, which was about nearly 600 people. I tell you this, when I was coming through the Rio Grande, I told them that in 1987, I never thought that I was going to be in front of so many service members that are willing to lay their lives for this country. And they were going to be paying attention to me. So every objective was met, not only because of the service member, but also because of the senior leaders, right? So we had the Commandant of the Marine Corps. We had the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. We had the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard. We had the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy. We had the CNO, the Chief Naval Operations, right? We had the Commandant of the Coast Guard. And at least I tell you that the message that they sent resonated with every single one of them. The motivation, the overcoming obstacles. Yes, it's difficult, but it's not impossible, right? The objective was achieved and probably surpassed.
Wow, that is truly amazing. I'm so glad that you achieved great success when it comes to that in the leadership. Appreciate you for answering it for us.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. By the end of the day, right, there's pictures, and I'll share them with y'all. You guys have seen them, like ladies have seen it in, LinkedIn and Facebook, Instagram. But personally, you didn't ask personally, but I tell you this, I never thought I was ever going to have lunch with the CNO, the Commandant of the Marine Corps, and the Commandant of the Coast Guard. So me personally, I was in cloud nine. I'm telling you, that's a dream for every service member, being able to have a conversation with them and ask them whatever question comes into mind, as long as it's professional, right? But it was just great. And most importantly, they opened themselves to opportunities for the service member to ask them questions. So every single one of them said, "Hey, you got questions?" And they asked, right? We couldn't stay there for like the hours that they wanted to ask the questions for. But I tell you that we got some service members that got the opportunity to ask our 4 stars some really tough questions, and they were not shy, and they didn't shy away from them, and they answered them, and it was great.
Yeah, I just like the piggyback just for folks, because we also have some civilians here that are tuning in. But what he's referring to is, so every service has their own chief executive officer, and they were able to attend for most of the services that they have their own chief executive officers, and they attended this symposium. So that shows you a testament on how much attention ANSO is getting. But they also did it in collaboration, correct, with the National Naval Officers Association?
That is correct. It's the first time that we have gotten together to do a symposium such as this one since 2010. So it has been 14 years, right? And it was fantastic. The collaboration, the cooperation between the two associations, right? And their president is a 2-star retired admiral, right? But he never treated me like a lieutenant colonel. He treated me like an equal. And across the board, it was just amazing, right? And we had one purpose, which was serve our service members or anyone that was in attendance, and to include our veterans that were in there. And it was providing the best training opportunity for them to learn. And I tell you, I'm still pumped, and I haven't come down.
I think that's fantastic, but I want to pitch it over to see if Kat has any comments.
Yeah,
I do. Thank you. I find it interesting, sir, that as a lieutenant colonel, that you were blown away by being with these higher ups. I'm like, wow, you were. I think it's very cool. But I wanted to ask you, as someone who's been out of the military for a long time, someone who is not a Marine Corps veteran, who is not a Coast Guard veteran, or even a Navy veteran, why should I be involved with ANSO? Why should it matter to me, and how can I get involved?
All right, so usually we get those questions asked, right? Why should I get involved, right? And my question to you is, why shouldn't you, right? When do we come up and we say that if we're truly, as veterans and active duty, we believe that the country has enemies, right? Or has adversaries, why wouldn't you support the recruitment? And I don't mean of the Marine Corps, the Air Force or Space Force. I'm talking about national service. Why wouldn't you support national service? That's number one. Number two, if we have opportunities that have been offered to our veterans or our active duty members, why wouldn't you support that? And most importantly, who would turn away professional and personal development, right? So if you're willing to make a difference and forward the advancement of those service members that are serving with us, that I would tell you that is the reason. Now, another question that comes up is, hey, I'm Army, I'm Air Force. Why wouldn't I? Well, I would tell you this: our podcast coordinator is an Army active duty captain. Our civilian veterans, you know her, Dee, right? Dee is Army, right? We also have Army and Space Force, and we also have Air Force members that come and work. So we don't see rank, right? We still have that protocol of mutual respect. We don't see that type where our focus is to make you better, and we don't see service. What we see is that leadership, mentorship, and professional development is has no boundaries and is transparent, right? So for us, and I say it right, our number one thing that we always say is, your success is my success. So when you're looking at this, is why wouldn't you be part of in our association that all it wants is to make you better?
Thank you for answering that, because at first, when you first started talking about it, I felt like maybe I should exclude myself because I'm not a Marine, but I'm a veteran. But I really wanted to hear you say, why does this pertain to me? And you're right. As all veterans, we should want to be, why would you not want to be a part of this? So thank you for answering that.
No, it's a valid question, right? Because it's national services, right? But the problem that comes up is that when we look at it that way, we're excluding a lot of people, and our association is inclusive, right? And for us, and I say it, and probably if you look at my podcast where I've been invited, is this, right? It don't matter where you come from, your background. Gosh, I'm an immigrant that came through the Rio Grande, and I started as a private, right? It doesn't matter where you come. It's how you get there. And we have to lift each other up, right? So when somebody falls, it's pretty easy for us to push them down if all we care about is ourselves, right? But our association and me under the leadership, right, like me being the president, is about helping each other out. When you fall, yes, we have to learn. There's no questions that if we make a mistake, we have to learn from that mistake so that we can grow. But it's easy to be with someone when the successes are there. It's really difficult when the person is trying to achieve their goals and desires and dreams, right? Because not everybody wants to pull you. But for us, and I tell you with the board of director, it doesn't matter if you're senior to me, and I tell people this, right? Let's go with the idea that I don't take colonel. My job for my mentees is for them to make colonel. If I make colonel, my job for my mentees is to make it to admiral or general officers. My job is not to ensure that they get to me, to the same rank, to achieve the same things that I've achieved, it's for them to achieve more than I have achieved. And that will be our legacy. When we start focusing on ranks and achievements and medals and ribbons as our legacy, I think we're misguided. Our legacy is the people that are coming behind us and the people that are in front of us, right? How do we help them? How do we serve for them? And most importantly, I would say, how do we make everybody around us better?
I think that's some really important points you touched on there, Jose, because the thing is for veterans is a lot of us are waking up to legacy, right? The fact that you are willing to sacrifice, looks like we lost him for a little bit. The fact that he's willing to sacrifice even achieving a higher rank to the future of developing nations leaders, that says a lot about his character and how he's going about approaching this, right? A lot of us have kids. A lot of us have teammates. Here's the thing. The reason why a lot of, let's just say the Patriots or the Spurs are successful, they may have a few stars, but the reason why they win championships is because they focus on the whole team concept. Leadership, as I said before, is a team sport. Yep. So if he's thinking about how do I build the next generation of leaders, that means he's building folks to set up not only ANSO, but to set up our community, to set up our country, to make us better, right? Because he hit the nail on the head. It's not my success. Is it if you're successful, I'm successful. If Kat's successful, I'm successful, right? Because we are building each other together. And I love that. And I love the fact you're talking about legacy and family and building up the youth, right? Right now, as you know, besides the Marine Corps, we have a challenge in recruitment. The Marine Corps doesn't have that problem, right? As long as we keep showing our dragons and we keep telling folks we're going to fight dragons, we're going to be okay at the end of the day, right? But, and I say that tongue in cheek, is he's thinking about how do we get more leaders into the services, right? And I love that approach. And I want you to dive in a little bit about what does Ansel teach on the leadership side? Like, what is something you focus on coaching your leaders? Like, what are some examples that you can dive into that, Jose?
So I would like to expand, right? It's for me is this. If you, I don't know if you all have seen the La Ola, our magazine, right? It was a newsletter, and it was just providing information, but not anymore. If you look at this, especially the recent one, right? It's celebrating promotions. It's celebrating master's degree. It's celebrating bachelor's degree. It's celebrating scholarships for JROTC cadets, right? And it's talking about the opportunities that are there for engineers, for the C cadets, right? For JROTC's instructors, and for us, it's just the success, right? So when we talk about this, is an example. Why do we teach? Number one is this, right? Don't be jealous. I will tell you this, and this is my mind. Don't be jealous about the people that you're helping. If they get better, just celebrate it, right? So, and it doesn't matter what the accomplishment is. We had an E5 in the symposium, right? E5 that got selected for social work master's degree program. She's going to be sent to a master's program. E5, right? Me being a Marine, came up and said, okay, sounds good. What are you going to do? And she raised her hand, but it was shy. No, raise it high. And then I said, what program did you get selected? Oh, social work for what? Master's degree. And she said it that soft. I said, no. Stand up. Be proud. Be proud for what you have, because not every E5 gets selected for that program. And say it louder. And say it louder. Until she got to the point that she said, I got selected for a master's degree in social work as an E5, right? So what we teach in leaders, right, in leadership aspect, is that we need to celebrate our success. That's coming from me. Celebrate our success, be encouraging, and be supportive, right? Like I tell you that, most importantly, and I think this is my personal thing, right? And you asked, it's like, I can't believe you're a lieutenant colonel and you were, like blowing out of your mind, per se, that you were sitting with them. Well, I don't see myself as a lieutenant colonel. I wear it, but I don't see myself as a lieutenant colonel. Every single day that I go to work, I know that I'm being judged by the way that I look, by the way that the things that I do and everything else. And my job is to ensure that I stay as humble as possible, because as a servant leader, which I strive to be, it's more important for me to teach lessons, right? It's more important for me to come up and say, what can we do better, right? So as an answer, what do we try to teach? Hey, success is incredible, but at the same time, if you don't share it, that doesn't mean much, right? Appreciate the family. We have to appreciate our family. By the end of the time that you take the uniform off, if you end up as a general or as a colonel without a family, you failed. There's no question about this. We need to make sure that there's a prioritization between family and work or the service, right? And at the same time, we need to treat everybody with dignity and respect. And I tell you this, that for me, if we teach those three things, we're a family, treat everybody with dignity and respect, regardless of where they come from, background, ethnicity, sex, orientation, anything, right? And then after that, we celebrate those successes. You have won most of the most difficult lessons that are there, right? A lot of people miss that, but we need to cultivate that at the junior ranks, so that when they get senior, they can teach those people that are coming behind that it's not about you, it's about us. And I think that is what we're doing with Enso. And like I said, on La Ola, the other piece is the podcast that we started, right? We celebrate our success and our stories and our failures, because even from the failures, we celebrate the growth, right? So we're trying to share what we have learned and the things that we can express and, share with other people. So those are the kind of leadership aspects that we do. But there's other more complicated, in-depth discussions that we can have with the speakers that we'll bring up.
Yeah, well, I love that. And just to double down real quick, and I think what I understand is, when you're an organization, you set the vision and the mission, but you also set these guiding principles. And it sounds like you have taken it based on your vision and leadership now, that you want to celebrate and amplify your team, right? Because a lot of times, a lot of folks that don't get recognition, people don't leave their organization, they leave their immediate supervisor, right? And you said, no, we are going to celebrate all our team, and we're going to show them that we care, right?
Yes.
People don't care about how much you know; they care about how much you care, right?
Yes.
So first thing for me is I don't talk business right away. I want to see how your family is. I want to see how you're doing, right? And if 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 I have an understanding that you may not be doing so well, we're not going to go into business. We're just going to figure out how you're doing, right? Because if you're not mentally stable or you might have some financial problems, you're not going to be focused on the mission. You're not going to be focused on accomplishing being your best self, right? Actually, backstage, Lakeisha and Kat, what we're talking about is mental health challenges, right? If
Yes.
your mental health state is not in a high state, you may not perform the best. So we may not even talk about the mission and task. So I love that Enzo is taking on about this. I do want to double down a little bit about the symposium because you guys have some chief executives here. What were some of the biggest takeaways that these chief executives, the CNO, the commandants of both the Marine Corps and the Coast Guard, what did they share for the future of the services? And how can we get involved from a veteran perspective to support you guys, right? Because like you said, we are one team, one fight. We're a big family here. So I want to get your thoughts first on what did they show the symposium for the future of the services?
So it was, between the three, it was about 3 hours each, right? Like every single one got about an hour, and then they took questions. The main thing that I got, regardless of who was speaking, was that we need to focus on the people, right? The people is really important. There's nothing that an association, organization, or whatever you want to call it, is nothing without its people, right? So we got to make sure that we take care of the people. We need to look out for the people. Along those lines, we got to prepare them. We got to train them. We got to get them ready, and we got to provide the best technology available, right? So that they can be able to face the future threats, the future adversaries, because we know that there's people out there that are trying to change our way of life. From the veterans' perspective, they were asking for your support, right? It doesn't matter what service you come from. We're all Americans, right? And we served at one point, let it be 4 years, 10 years, 20 years, right? Our main focus is that we were willing to lay our lives for the country and for the Constitution, most importantly, right? So in order to continue to preserve democracy in this republic that we fought so far for, right, so hard for, because most of us deployed, right, we need to ensure that we pass on the goods that comes from serving. I can tell you that I wouldn't have a master's degree because I didn't have the money. I didn't have the money when I was growing up to have a bachelor's degree. I didn't have the money to have a master's degree. The Marine Corps afforded me those opportunities. So regardless of what played out, say that I didn't get selected or whatever it is, I cannot forget that I was selected to go to a MISEP and get selected for a bachelor's degree. I cannot forget that I went to get my master's degree. I cannot forget that I had some of the greatest friends, and to this day, since 30 years ago, right? So from the veterans' perspective, hey, let's go continue to cultivate not the service piece, but the patriotism, the national service, and most importantly, continue to help the future, right? Because many of us, we know that, Hispanic Heritage Month is coming up. You know what I'm telling my people, my association? Volunteer to go to the high schools, volunteer to be a guest speaker, volunteer to be a panelist, volunteer to see what else they need for Black History Month, for Women History Month, see what they need for Asian Pacific Month. So if you engage, even if they don't serve, because there's a drop on health and mental health and fiscal qualifications, right? But even if they don't serve, we're making the country better by serving and serving as an example on front of those high school kids and college kids. So every single one of them said, let's focus on our people. Let's focus on technology that makes our people better. Let's make sure that we train them to address those technologies and ensure that they're qualified and experts in that technology or that weapon system, and make sure that we keep discipline. And from our veterans, to ensure that they continue to support and they do not forget the goods that came from serving and the friendships and everything that I mentioned, right? And most importantly, the Commandant of the Marine Corps said this: we cannot get 100% from 50%, right? And that resonated with me because he said it multiple times. So we're asking for the country to be safe. We're asking for the country to be protected. We're asking for all these different things, but only half of us are trying to do that. We need everybody in the team to make sure that they continue to push, right? So I'll tell y'all, all the veterans that are here and listening, we cannot get 100% from 50%, right? So we need you. We need you to continue to motivate. We need you to continue to encourage. and set the example for people to emulate, because the things that you have accomplished and the things that you have done for this nation and for the people around you is completely amazing. And we need to ensure that that is passed down to the next generation.
Thank you. Kat and Lakeisha, anything?
No, I was just going to say, sign me up, but I'm not sure what I'm signing up for.
Lifetime membership with Enzo. That's what
She's
you're signing up for.
She's like, fool me once, shame on you. Oh, Lakeisha, Kat, any comments? You're on mute, Lakeisha.
I do apologize. I'm on mute just talking. I said I'm ready to support. I'm definitely sign me up just like Kat, because, we know the initiative is time for each and every one of us to definitely hold up, the hand and definitely support some other veterans and our amazing comrades that are still in, how they can actually lead from the front. I see that on your website, you talk about, the faces of the challenges, how we can rise above, how we can continue to move forward in that. I definitely believe in that. Definitely how we can definitely rise above. I believe you can turn your pain into purpose, and you can definitely move forward in that. I feel that's what you're doing in your initiatives. Do you agree?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. I agree. Right. I tell you that we focus on the people. You cannot go wrong. Right. We cannot go wrong. And I told you that comment resonated with me. The commandant said it. The CNO was amazing. I tell you that her story is just amazing. The commandant of the Coast Guard was amazing. I loved it. But the other piece too, one of the things that I expect you, to ask me, and like I said, I got about 5 minutes. I truly, truly apologize because I wanted to be with you for an entire hour. My kid, like I said, he got moved up to the second team. He's playing goalie, he's actually a striker, but I've been training him as a goalie, so he's going to be playing goalie, and he's starting. So it's a different piece. But one thing that has not been asked, and I want to make sure that we talked about, is that we also had, like I said, the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, senior enlisted in the Marine Corps. We had our Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard and the Navy, right? So for us, it's not just about the officer side of the house, even though I'm an officer. I made a promise, a guarantee when I became a president. As a prior enlisted and as an officer, I'm not leaving my enlisted service members behind, right? So if you want to join and you want to participate and you want to get better, you come and join us, because no matter what, we're pushing forward together. For the Naval Service, the NNOA, right? That association is all inclusive, but for officers, right? They haven't opened the door for enlisted. And one of the things that holding on to my promise, said, there's a red line, and the number one red line, and the only red line is, if you don't let my enlisted service member come into the symposium, we're not doing it together, right? And they said, no, we're good with that. So for me, is officer, enlisted, one officer, doesn't matter. For me, is all inclusive in rank, all inclusive in gender, all inclusive in everything. So it's really important that we focus on the people. It's really important that we set the example to emulate in the things that we can achieve, but most importantly on the things that we've been told that we're not going to be able to achieve, right? Because if you don't believe, you're not going to achieve them. If you don't have a big dream, I had a captain come up and say, sir, I want to be a general officer, and people laugh at me. I said, they laugh at you not because of you. They laugh because they don't think that they can do it, so they laugh at you to try to discourage you. So at the end, I had, an additional set of Lieutenant Colonel insignia that I had with me, right? And I had them in my pocket. I took them out and gave it to him. I gave it to her. And I said, you're a captain. Getting to this one is going to cost you about 10 years. But if you want to go to general, you got to get through this one first before you get there. And I came up and I got close to her and I said, dream big. If you don't dream big, you will never accomplish anything of the things that you want to accomplish. So when she messaged me to say congratulations, right? I said, hey, before I retire, I'm going to give you my Eagles. So you know that before you get to general officer, you got to get to colonel. And at one point or another, even if you don't make it, at least you know that in your mindset that you were going after that and you have a purpose. You have a defined goal to go after. So I would encourage people to do those things. Don't limit the people around you. Make them, set the expectations higher, but make the dreams bigger. Make the goals higher on things that they cannot accomplish, but at the same time, you got to push them to ensure that they're able to open doors, or you help them crack that door so that they can get through it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is a leadership 101 here. I'm very impressed by what the Jose's remarks are. And I love the fact, again, that he is leading by example. He's leading a great organization. And again, if you guys listen to what he said, and Kat and I were talking about this in the backstage, is no one's going to believe in your vision but you, ladies and gentlemen. So if it's in here, that's okay if the world doesn't share it, and that's okay if they don't understand. But as long as you believe in it, as long as you tell yourself that you're going to get there, then that's what matters at the end of the day, right? But you also want to surround yourself in healthy, growing environments, like what ANSO is doing, because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like ANSO is raising a Marine Corps of leaders across the services. And also, they opened it up to folks on the enlisted side, something that does not happen, right? Before, we used to have this type of segregation from the officer club to the enlisted club. But he's thinking big, ladies and gentlemen. He's thinking about the next generation. So that enlisted person, just like him, that may want to be an officer, then now they're getting exposure. Here's another thing, right? And something I share with my nephews a lot. Where I'm from, country, Fresno, right? I grew up in the hood, blue collar, was in a few drive-bys, just happened to be there, right? It wasn't me causing it, but I just knew a few folks there, right? Thank God I survived. But if I would have stayed in an environment, if I didn't expose myself to other potential leaders like a Jose or Lakeisha, I would have just stayed in that environment, and I would have just thought I was Jeffrey back on the block, right? But we have to find a way to expose ourselves and expose our youth to healthy environments so they can grow and so they can become the best person of themselves, ladies and gentlemen. So just keep that in mind. If you have a business or you have an organization, or if you're thinking about growing your family or your community, you want to expose them to the best environments possible, right? And it sounds like that's what ANSO is doing. I know we have a few minutes left, but Jose, just in a few words, and by the way, before we get to that, ladies and gentlemen, there's a QR code here that you can scan, and it'll take you to the ANSO website so you can keep up to date. They're going to have a second symposium, and I don't want to steal Jose's thunder, in December in San Diego, where I am. So I may just have to go out there and visit Jose and grab a cup of coffee with him and see how he's doing. But I just want to get his thoughts. Is Jose, at the end of the day, once you hang it up, or once you leave ANSO, or maybe I don't know, maybe ANSO is a lifetime appointment for you, right? But what is the end? At the end of the day, what, like, if you were to hang it up, and let's say ANSO was, your assignment was up, what do you want to leave as your legacy for ANSO going forward?
It's going to be, that's difficult, right? Because I haven't even thought about that. Because for me is, I live in the moment, right? But I want you to take a look at the board of directors, right? Just look at the board of directors. We have our PAO, first time enlisted service member, that falls within that, right? First, never. Everything else has been officers. You look at our secretary, enlisted. And you look at our service rep, and obviously enlisted personnel. We have the other piece that I want you to take a look at is the percentage of women that are in the board of directors, right? So when I tell you it sounds great, if, it's a bumper sticker, right? A comment. All inclusive, and I'll try to everybody. But no, I ask you to go and take a look at the list and take a look at the names. And you're going to see that our association, by design, aka me, right, because I wanted to fill those positions, is enlisted and officers are on that board of directors. Veterans, Army, Coast Guard, Navy, Marines. The other piece that you look at is almost 50% women, right? I'm looking for a Marine officer who is a woman, maybe, or it doesn't matter, right? But if I'm able to get another woman, I'm like, yeah, now I got a service rep that is a woman too, and we're definitely at 50%, right? But that is by design, because we cannot continue to neglect the fact that we are all inclusive, and most important, that this nation has almost a 50-50 split with women. And this nation is served and protected not only by naval services, right, but all the services. So my legacy, when it comes down to, is that when I stepped away, say in a year and a half, worst case scenario, I don't get reelected, right? Just an example. That somebody is behind me and says, don't worry about it, I got it. I'm going to be running for president, right? Don't worry, I got a VP. Don't worry, I got a secretary. Hey, from the chapters that want to become in the board of directors from the national side of the house, right? But the second piece is that we're looking beyond ourselves, right? You said it. I multitask, and at times when I was in Japan, my days, especially when I was having meetings, it was 18 days, 18-hour days, 20-hour days. It's really difficult. But if you consider that your service, I see it more as a hobby. So if you're thinking about the future, you're thinking about the people around you and thinking about how to make them better, you'll sacrifice so that the future is better than what you have, and and your present is better, right, than what you're currently living. So for me, my legacy will be making sure that the association continues to live, continues to grow, and most importantly, that we continue to provide a future or opportunities for those JROTC cadets or our Hispanic youth, right? And one of the things that we didn't mention was we awarded 10 $1,000 scholarships the first time in a long time that the association being able, probably the first time ever, right? And there's 10 kids in La Ola that I think it was like 7 or 8 stories in there. They're saying what that meant to them, right? So giving back for me is not $10,000 this year coming up. I want to grow $15,000 so I can give 15 $1,000 scholarships, right? I want to celebrate more awards. I want to celebrate more promotions. I want to celebrate all that stuff. But that will be my legacy, right, Jeffrey? It's never about me, right? My legacy is never about me. My legacy is my kids, my family, the service members, and the people that I'm around. And if I see it that way, I hope that other people see it that way, or I can start cultivating something like that so that they can start seeing it that way, and then we make people a little bit better than what we are now.
Outstanding, Colonel. I really just want to thank you for your time. I know you got a hard stop. Your kid is playing, but I just want to thank you, and then hopefully we can get to do this again, maybe in person. We do it live, right, with you at the symposium, or potentially we can get you back here. But I mean, enjoy your time. I know you're back stateside. You got a lot going on. You probably got a lot of people to see. But I just want to thank you again for stopping by, and we look forward to hopefully hearing from you soon in the near future.
So I'll throw this, Jeffrey. I'll tell you this, right? If you are in the San Diego area, come and join us. If you are not in there, right, I'm gonna put a challenge to you, right? We had E6, E7s, O3s, O4s, even O5s that threw their name, and they came up and they pay for mileage points to get a flight. They pay using points to get hotels, and they pay sometimes, right? Apart from the sponsorship that we got from the services, because they sponsor us, and they came and joined us, right? So I put this challenge on. So if you're listening to this and you enjoy and you like what I'm saying, it doesn't matter. You set up some time. Come join us if it's 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, to the socials, mentorship, all these different things. And, hey, you say, well, I don't have the money. Yes, you can. Use your mileage points, right? If you cannot be there, find somebody else that can be there for you, right? But if you come, don't come alone. Because I tell you this, and I told them this, the party's going to be big. When you come in, I promise you there's going to be some music. And it's not going to be, whatever music is going to be, our salsa, merengue, whatever it is that gets the rhythm going. And throughout the time, there's going to be some dancing, and there's going to be some enjoyment, and there's going to be some fun. Because if all you think about is work, and personal development, professional development, and mentorship and all that stuff, but you don't stop to enjoy the moment, you're never going to be able to be better. Right? We got to have fun as we're going through. So I can guarantee you that if you come, I'll take you salsa dancing. If you come, I'll tell you that there's going to be some music, and that you're going to have some smiles and some jokes and some stories to share. So please don't stop. If you're African American, if you're Asian, if you're wherever you come from, right? Come join us, because the doors are wide open. If you're a veteran, we got a veteran rep that is going to have some training for y'all, and making sure that we teach you or help you to get a GS resume done, or whatever it is that you're desiring. We'll find a way to help you out. So you tell me what you guys need when you come in, introduce yourself. But December 2nd through the 6th, we're going to be in San Diego, San Diego County. We're going to be in Marine Corps Air Station, Miramar, and at the Officer Club, and we're ready. And right now, we're really talking about the themes. We're talking about the agenda. So if you guys have something that you're thinking about that you would like to see in this symposium, I'm opening it up to you. Send me a message at enzo.president@gmail.com, and I promise you that we'll consider it, we'll vote on it, and maybe your topic that you want to see is going to make it to that agenda.
Outstanding. Colonel, congratulations on being selected. Enjoy your time with your family. We will talk soon. Have a great, outstanding weekend. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you guys at the after show. Veterans Club signing out.
Hoorah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Hoorah.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
You too.